Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coach-your-PO. All lowercase, all one word, that's bit.ly/coach-your-PO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello everybody, welcome to our Friday TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Fred Deichler. Hey Fred, welcome back.
Hey, TGIF, Vasco.
Absolutely, TGIF, everybody. Take a moment to reflect on the week, but also to enjoy all of those achievements that you've collected over the week. There is a case to be made for somebody to invent a board to collect achievements, because we collect so many and then we end up not reflecting on them. So if somebody's out there and they have some free time, do create a web app where we can collect achievements and let the community create the achievements and even the medals for those, and let's start collecting those. What do you think, Fred?
That is a wonderful idea. Recently, I've actually gotten a little bit more in depth with weekly reflection and actually documenting it. Our company just implemented a new tool where we write down these things that go to our manager, reviews them, who could then put them on a future one-on-one. And I'm coaching my team now, my team of Scrum Masters, on doing that. But it's so important in the Scrum Master role. Like, how do you measure success? How do you know you did a good job? And taking that time every Friday to write, what did I get done? To just sit back and say, oh, wow, I did a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. And when we talk about product owners, it's also important that if we don't do our regular reflection, we will not be equipped to react when we see some of the things that other product owners have done in the future, right? So, and this is actually one of the reasons why we're going to have these questions here today, Fred. We'll talk about a great product owner, because we also need to know what those look like later on. But first, let's dive into the anti-pattern. Fred, share with us the biggest product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say I've witnessed a few. I've even actually used a list of anti-patterns to hand to new product owners to say, hey, here's a list of things that might happen. And if you reflect on them, you can actually then fix them before they become a problem. But for me, the biggest anti-pattern that I've experienced over the years happened when there was an owner. We had a product owner that left the company, but it was still an important piece of work that was happening. And so there were multiple people who tried to fill in the role. And so some might call this.
How did they do that, by the way? That's an interesting question. Like, how did these different multiple people try to fill in the role of somebody who had just left?
Yeah. And so what this generally, I think, is usually called product owner by committee. And so they kind of divided it out, like who was going to be responsible for what. Initially, they were all coming to 3 people coming to the daily scrum for the team, which was a lot because it was 35% of the people in the room were those 3 people, which creates this huge hippo experience, the highest paid person experience, where the team gets very quiet because these higher people are there judging and giving feedback. Even if they don't mean to judge, the team feels that the percentage of the people in the room is thrown off. Over time, they came to less and less meetings. Maybe it was 2 of them, then 1 of them, then sometimes they weren't even there because they had their own day job to do. But at the end of the day, the team, they were still responsible for delivering. They needed to go to someone to find, like, what is the decision on this, or what are we going to do about that? And what was happening was there was delays, and the team started to question, What is our value here? If like no one's giving us time, no one's giving us answers. If no one else is going to tell us what to do, we're just going to do what we want to do. Which isn't always it's not a bad thing for the team to have some self-determination in the work they do. Uh, but I believe it's that partnership, that let's say three-legged stool between product, the team, and the scrum master. The product owner in this role, they're supposed to be the one who make sure the team does the right thing. The team is responsible for doing it right, and the scrum master is responsible for making sure it gets done fast. And this tension between these three actors is important to create success for these teams. But when we don't know the right thing to do, the balance of the stool is off.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes off in many different ways. I've experienced, for example, team demotivation, which is something maybe you were also referring to there. Another thing is the team is highly motivated, but now they're going off like cowboys, doing whatever they want and actually not driving the product towards where it needs to go. There's also the scratch my own itch thing in the team, like, oh yeah, we have all of this technical debt to cover, let's just focus on technical debt. And of course customers never see any value, because all we're doing is we're maybe improving performance or quality or fixing some annoyances, but not really giving anything to the customer that they value. There's many anti-patterns that come from there.
Yeah, completely.
So when you think about this, like, I don't know if you ever ended up resolving that problem, but if you could, like, what were the things that you would have discussed at the time, maybe brought up, maybe involved people to try and resolve that problem?
The thing that I would have done is I would have had a separate meeting with the three individuals who were because they had a lot of love for the team. They wanted to make sure they were successful, they were taken care of while we were looking for a new product owner to support the team. But I would have taken the time just to meet with the four of us, ask them about their goals, give them some insight into my experience, and almost would have like a future perspective with them, where I say like this is the things that can go wrong. So we need to get, commitment from at least from one of you to be that point of contact for the team. Like, who's that person going to be? Who's going to commit to this team? And do other people in the room need to pick up some of the other work from the committer? Do these other stakeholders need to help out? Because we're all as product leaders responsible for the success of the team and their motivation.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. We're all responsible for the success and their motivation. All right, so we've discussed the bad example, but of course we need to end the week on a high. So let's go to the opposite. The mirror image of this might have been the best product owner you've ever worked with. Fred, describe them for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say I still have the pleasure of working with them today. And the biggest thing for me that makes them a great PO is they have a growth mindset. And where that shows itself is we have biweekly one-on-ones where we talk about not only how the team is doing, but about them and their career journey. And they're very interested in learning how they can be better. So maybe I'll send them an article over Slack, or we'll just talk about some patterns we're observing, or maybe some of those higher level agile thoughts where I think we might take agility at my organization the coming year. And then where I see it play out is they do things with the team that I could see are reflective of our conversation. They're very interested in the success of the team as a team, not about their own personal success. And so like they take these things in. And the greatest example I saw of this is every year during the summer, we took this actually from SAFE. It's their innovation and planning sprint, the IP sprint. But we do it, we call it the calibration sprint. And this idea is to give people 2 weeks where we don't have planned work. This is that time where you've bought that course online. You have permission to go do this. Is there that bug that's annoying you? You have permission to go fix that thing. But one of the key or event that happens during this calibration sprint is we have a hackathon, and we give the teams like, here's a couple themes, and we ask them to form their own mini teams and go solve this thing in just a couple days and present what might be a solution. And the story that for this one is the team that this product owner works with, they came up with this amazing technology to actually do sentiment analysis of the words people use. And I remember the at a future backlog refinement, the team said to the product owner, "Was like, okay, hey, when are we going to implement this?" And the product owner said, "It's a wonderful idea, but not yet." And it's hard because the team loved they put a lot, but they understood that maybe this wasn't ready or it wasn't the right thing for the product because it's going to require a lot of time, a lot of QA effort. Yeah,
This is a beautiful example of how we as engineers get so fixated in the machine, right? The technology, the process of processing data, the way of showing data. And then we don't do the PO job, and thank God there's a PO for that, right? But we don't do the PO job of thinking, why would a customer want this? How could it help them? How would it fit their way of working? And how could this deliver value to our company as well, right? And
absolutely.
engineers don't need to think about that. And that's okay. Like we do have people who are paid and have the expertise to do that. But that's why I think that it's a wonderful idea, but not yet. It's such a powerful phrase for the product owners.
Yeah, and I watched in the room and the team, they were not deflated at all. They understood, and which was the beautiful thing. They didn't feel like their people weren't listening to them. They just knew this probably what it wasn't the right thing when they had a chance to sit down and breathe and think a little bit, maybe not. But we have this experience in our backlog. If it does come up as, we are looking to do some kind of textual sentiment analysis, we have that skill set. We know we've done the spike on it. We know where to
the
go.
Spike, exactly. Yeah, and that's really the goal of those innovation weeks, right? Is to create options. We don't want to. It's not that we shouldn't. We don't even want to take all of those options, but we do want to explore them because they might generate unexpected, valuable ideas.
Absolutely.
Fred, it's been an awesome week with you here, but unfortunately, we're getting close to the end. Before we go, though, do share with us, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, number one place to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm usually have a LinkedIn window open when I'm working, where I can read articles and posts by people. But feel free, connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out to me. Other than that, I am on a couple of Slacks, including the Scrum Master Toolbox Slack and a couple other ones. So if you see my name pop up there, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to connect and talk about agility.
Absolutely. Fred, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
You're welcome, Masco.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.